Time and space is a created world, but the second God always is. Wow, talk about starting in the deep end, right? This single line from our source text just throws us right into this massive idea. It creates this huge separation between our reality and God's reality. So the question is, how can a being who always is step into a world that was created? Well, let's dive in and find out.
So today we're going to be unpacking a really fascinating theological puzzle, what our source calls the paradox of inheritance. Seriously, how can a God who exists outside of time, a God who already owns everything, possibly inherit something, especially inside the very world he created? It sounds like a total contradiction, but as you're about to see, the answer reveals something pretty incredible. All right, so here's our game plan for solving this puzzle. First, we're going to lay the groundwork and really define God's eternal nature. Then we'll look at this special name that holds all the authority in our world. After that, we'll tackle the paradox head-on, explore the mind-bending solution of emptying, and finally, we'll see what the amazing outcome of this whole thing is. Okay, first up, God beyond time and space. To even begin to get our heads around this paradox, we have to start with the fundamental difference between the one who creates and the things that are created. You can see the two realities laid out right here, side by side. On one hand, you have the Creator. We're talking eternal, infinite, existing completely outside of our rules of time and space. The Creator simply is. And on the other hand, you have creation. That's us, the universe, everything in it. We're finite. We had a beginning. We are stuck inside time and space. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. The second God is unchanging. He is perpetual. He's not bound by yesterday or today or tomorrow. This whole idea, his eternal nature, is the bedrock for the entire argument we're about to build.
So let's move on. If God is so separate, how does he interact with his finite creation? Well, it happens through something the text calls a name above all names.
Now, this name isn't just a name tag, okay? It's an active power. It's like the designated ambassador for God's authority inside our reality. It's what allows creation, allows us, to interact with and even worship the Creator. Think of it as God's official point of contact.
And our source identifies this authority with the name Yahweh. Now check out its meaning. The one who is. Sound familiar? It connects directly back to what we were just talking about, God's eternal, constant, unchanging existence. It's a name that is his nature. And then the text builds on this with the name Jesus. This is so cool. It's like an equation. It takes the eternal identity of the one who is, and it adds a purpose, salvation. So the name itself tells the whole story. The eternal God is acting to save.
Okay, so now we have all the pieces on the board. We've got an eternal God, and we have a name that holds all his authority. So where's the problem? Well, this is where we get to the heart of it, the paradox itself. So the logic starts out simple enough. This name, Yahweh, carries the full weight of God's power and glory. So it follows that only a being worthy of worship, only God himself, could possibly inherit it, right? Makes perfect sense. That's piece number one of the puzzle.
And here's the catch. How can you inherit something you already own? An inheritance is something you're given, something you receive. But the eternal God, by his very definition, already possesses it all. He created time, he created space, he created the very concept of this name.
So there it is. That's the question that seems to break logic. An all-powerful, all-owning God can't be given what is already his from the very beginning. This is the divine contradiction that our source text is about to solve for us.
So how on earth do we solve this?
Well, this next section gives us the resolution. It's a concept called emptying himself to inherit, and this is where the whole argument takes a really radical turn.
And the solution is just as radical as the problem. It's actually quite simple, but it's profound. If the act of inheriting can only happen inside the rules of creation, then the eternal God has to enter that system. To legally be an heir in our created world, you have to be a created being.
Okay, so let's walk through the process. Step 1, the eternal God exists. Step 2, he undergoes this incredible process of emptying himself, basically setting aside his infinite status. Step 3, he becomes a finite created being. And step 4, now in that new state, as a part of creation, he is positioned to legally and rightfully inherit the name of authority.
The source puts it just like this. The Son, who is Yahweh, inherited the name Jesus to save created beings from sin and complete creation. So you see,
The paradox isn't just a riddle to be solved, it's resolved through an incredible act of love and with a very specific purpose.
So, what's the end result of all this? What's the ultimate outcome? It's not just about solving some logical puzzle. It's about fundamentally changing a relationship.
Just look at this shift in the title. Before this incredible act, the Son is called the only Son. He's totally unique, alone in his divine nature. But after becoming human and being resurrected, he gets a brand new title, Firstborn Son.
And that one word, firstborn, it changes everything. Firstborn implies there are others to follow, right? By becoming one of us, he becomes the first of a new kind of family. His act literally kicks the door open for created beings, for people like you and me, to be brought into a family relationship with God as adopted sons. He went from being the only one to being the first one.
The source adds a really important clarification here. This is a one-way street. The divine can become finite, but the finite can never become divine. The only Son can become the firstborn, but a created being like us can't become the only Son. And that protects the totally unique nature of this act.
So when you piece it all together, the conclusion is it's profound. The paradox of inheritance is solved by the infinite choosing to enter the finite. And the whole purpose wasn't just to claim ownership, he already had that. The purpose was to establish a whole new kind of relationship, one of family, one of brotherhood.
And that's what I want to leave you with. Beyond all the theological mechanics, what does it truly mean for an infinite being to choose limitation? To choose to become part of its own creation, not just to be its master, but to be its brother? Now that is a question worth pondering.